If there's one thing I've learned about this reality series, right? If you're going to convince somebody you're not a traitor, it's really not enough to just say, I'm not a traitor. I promise. Why is that? Because we're BFFs. Listen, we got a lot to talk about, so let's get into my episode 9 recap and review of The Traitors, season 4. It's my Alan Cumming. What's going on, you guys? James here with another real recap and review for The Traitors Season 4, Episode 9. Thank you all so much for your support on my previous 2 Traitors videos, my recaps, my reviews. Y'all been loving this show, and so have I. So I like talking about it, and if you do too, hit the big red button below, subscribe to the channel, tap on that bell, and like this video, you guys, and also get loud in the comments. I need to know what you think of the murder we're going to talk about this episode and the banishment, because I saw one coming. I did not see the other. And guess what, you guys? We are only 2 episodes away until the finale. Yeah, guys, episode 11 is going to be fun. Episode 12 is the reunion. They apparently already planned the date to shoot that with like a live audience, or at least with an audience. It won't be a live reunion. But guys, I am so excited. Let's get into episode 9. It is called Think Outside the Box, because there are so many boxes in this episode, you'd think it'd be sponsored by FedEx or UPS. What can Brown do for you? Alrighty, so let's get into it, you guys. If you don't remember, yes, episode 8 ended with this cliffhanger reveal that, well, Eric has been chosen by Rob to be a fellow traitor, or will Eric say no and then be murdered on the spot? What do y'all think? This is Eric we're talking about, the man who gets peer pressure the most and wavers in his votes at the round table. He, of course, said yes to Rob and being a traitor. Rob is excited because he's like, alrighty, someone else I get to betray. Now, their first order together is murdering somebody tonight. Now, Rob tells Eric, hey, we need to stick together. And I think that's rich because, Rob, you didn't say that to Candace, my favorite contestant. It's been voted off. They're between 3 contestants, Steven, Dorinda, and Natalie. I feel like Natalie's name's been coming up a lot lately, and it does come up a couple times in this episode. I'm starting to think Natalie might make it to the end, but she might not win this thing because there's so much heat on her. Or will she somehow find a way to convince others so that she could be the last one standing? I'm very, very curious to see if Natalie makes it out of this, but she's a gamer, and I'm starting to think that they're getting really close to knocking out all of those gamers, right? So it is time for your weekly breakfast with the good salmon, and we get first our group in, and they're like, oh my gosh, we survived. And the second group, you guys know how it goes, but I'm in it to know who the heck got murdered, and we find out pretty quickly. But before we do, Rob at the breakfast began sowing seeds of distrust towards Johnny. And Mark and Kristen end up saying, hey, yeah, we're on board with you too. Now, I'm a little curious about how that went down, because I do think knocking out Johnny is good for the Traitors because Johnny's very smart. Clearly, he's got this sharpness to him, not just because he had to sharpen his skates to become an Olympic skater, you know what I mean? But I'm talking about his wits. He's pretty good at picking up on stuff, but here's the thing. Rob also has his group, right? Even though Colton is gone, his bestie, Rob's got some fellow snakes in the castle. So he's starting to convince everybody, it's Johnny. So shady. Meanwhile, Eric, our new day 1 traitor, is very nervous at this breakfast. If I didn't see it for myself, I would have just assumed the man was sweating. He wasn't sweating, but he might as well have been like shaking and, eating his yogurt or salmon with his hands shaking. The guy is nervous. He's a bad traitor. And I'm starting to think this was Rob's idea, because Rob was like, let me get another person on my side and then cut them out of the game. Guys, I'm telling you, Rob is playing this very well, but again, he frustrated me eliminating Candace. But I do think ultimately Eric is a bad choice to be a traitor. But we start to get more groups that come in, and Johnny is surprisingly saved. I thought that they were going to get that man. I won't lie to you. But no, he's saved. So he's in, and then we have Maura, who is at the table and starting to think, well, okay, Johnny's not. I wonder who it could be. And then Maura just starts agreeing with Rob that maybe it could be Johnny. Of course Maura would. She loves Rob. So we go from one of the least surprising things about this episode to Natalie and Steven showing up, which means, oh boy, well, Dorinda is the 7th contestant murdered on this show. A fellow faithful is out of the castle, you guys. Dorinda at least played this season longer than she did the previous one, and let me tell you guys something. Dorinda didn't necessarily do anything unique for this season, but she lasted longer than I thought she would have. So now it's time for the mission of this episode, and it's one that I admittedly didn't know if it would be very good. They basically have to get in a big box, and everyone gets in, even the traitors in their own individual boxes. Alan Cumming asks a question, and then the 2 traitors have to get out of their boxes, make their decision, drop the name in another big box, and then everyone collectively gets out and sees the answer to the question. And of course, it's the traitors answering the question. So the other contestants are starting to think, who would say that about our fellow castle members? Can't say faithfuls, they're not all faithful. And of course, if the other contestants vote correctly, they win money. Well, that didn't happen. Yeah, they didn't win no money on this. I mean, they won like $2,000, I think, or something like that. But that's really nothing to the pot. The most surprising thing really was the answers that were given here. So the first question is, who do the traitors think are most useful to them? Now, Rob has a testimonial interview where he's given his, I guess, thoughts and stuff, and then he meows. I don't remember the context of this, but what the heck, Rob? The traitors choose Tara as the answer, which was, in my opinion, a very big diversion and not a truthful answer. But I see what they're doing. They're trying to put Tara up against it, right? So that it's Tara and Johnny on the chopping block, 2 best friends. Oh my gosh. The second question Alan Cumming asks, who do the traitors think is the most manipulative? And the answer here was, again, Tara. Why? I think it's because they're trying to start moving the targets around and eliminating some easy contestants here. And it's really interesting. But I kind of like the strategy. However, I don't think this is the best move for the traitors' original plan, which was actually eliminating Johnny. This takes the heat off Johnny completely, in my opinion, only because why would he vote for his best friend? That doesn't seem very best friend-like. The third question is, who do the traitors think doesn't deserve a place in the final? And the answer made me literally write in all caps, really? They chose Tara again. And meanwhile, none of the other contestants are picking up on this, so they're not choosing Tara as their answer and they're not winning money. Come on, guys. Alrighty, the next question. Who do the traitors think would make the best traitor? Surprise, surprise. Do you know it? Let's say it together on 3. 1, 2, 3. Tara. Tara's the answer again. They pretty much all agreed, though, and won some money here, except for Tara and Johnny. That makes it suspect, in my opinion. That's very sus. So what they're doing is everybody's in alignment except for Tara and Johnny. Why? Well, maybe that does put some more eyes on them. So maybe, just maybe, the strategy is paying off by putting the bullseye back on Johnny and now Tara. And the last question for this mission, who do the traitors want to shortlist for murder tonight? Now that was a curveball like Sandy Koufax, y'all. I didn't know. I thought, okay, listen, they aren't going to have to make this decision until they get back in the turret. Nope, not so fast. Alan Cumming said, hey, y'all better not mess around here. This is actually your shortlist. So Eric and, Rob are thinking, oh boy, well, we better get serious right now. And they are. So they chose 4 players to be shortlisted. And, well, to no one's surprise, Tara is one of them. Johnny is one of them. The third is Natalie. And the fourth is Kristen. Ladies and gentlemen, we have ourselves a conundrum. Because I have no idea what in the world is going to happen at this point. Starting to think, though. Starting to think that maybe picking on Kristen's not a good idea. So we get back to the castle and everyone's debriefing. But Mark ends up saying, hey, I didn't realize how close Johnny and Tara were. And that might be the most surprising thing this episode. Because, homie, how do you not know that? First of all, do you not know Tara and Johnny from their Olympic background? Second of all, how in the world do you not know they're good friends? They are literally in the castle, always together. What are we doing here? Now, when it comes to Natalie, she's actually also throwing a sort of wrench into the equation because she's now putting all of her chips into Steven. And I'm thinking, Steven, really? When did this happen, Natalie, in your mind? But she's been on the Steven wagon for a while, ever since the theory was proposed that Lisa went to Steven, gave all of her gold during that challenge to Steven. So Steven must be, what? A traitor. Well, in Natalie's mind. Y'all know. Y'all know. He's not. But this is making the house now waver on their decision. And she's starting to sow some seeds that are different than the seeds that Eric, and Rob are sowing. Ooh. So now it's time for the moment we've all been waiting for, which is the 8th banishment. We get to the round table. Alan Cumming says, "Players, the floor is yours." And here we are, Now do we find out whether Johnny's gone, Tara's gone, Steven's gone? I don't know who else. Probably nobody else. But honestly, guys, this was definitely surprising to me because I thought Johnny was going to be the one to get axed. Johnny and Tara first speak up and say, "Listen, it can't be us. We're not traitors because we're both faithfuls." And I'm starting to think that is a terrible defense. So Mark says, "Well, if you're not a faithful, prove it. Or if you are a faithful and you're not a traitor, prove it." And they're like, because that is not a good reason, you guys. That they are not buying themselves any time. I would not be surprised if they are both off within the next week. Johnny's like, "Well, okay, let me go ahead and pin this on somebody else because my theory is it's Steven." He brings up the fact that Candace and Steven had a one-on-one conversation that he walked by and he saw them, so it must be them. Man, it's kind of plausible. I won't lie to you. Because it is sus. But then Kristen comes in and says, "Hey, no, I actually think it is Tara." And her reason is because she told Tara, "I don't know if I trust you too much." And now Kristen's on the chopping block, shortlisted for murder. So if I only told Tara that and now I'm on the chopping block, it must be Tara. Could it be a coincidence, Kristen? I mean, it could be. Yeah, but no, she is totally on the Tara train. And at this point, Johnny and Tara are just flustered. They don't know how to stick up for themselves. And honestly, I'm not so convinced that they're doing themselves any favors during this roundtable. But Natalie's like, "Hey, remember Steven? Yeah, I'm still gunning for you, Steven." And, well, Rob and Eric the whole time are just quiet. On every deliberation, they're just quiet. In a way that might work for Rob. He's already proven himself. It doesn't work for Eric because Eric used to be very vocal. Remember, he'd be loud and wrong for so many different contestants, right? Oh boy, Eric, this is not going to work out well for you. So Alan Cumming asks, "If you have the dagger and you would like to use it, speak up now." And he kind of spoke up. Rob was whispering, "I have the dagger," to Natalie. But then when Natalie looked at Rob and whispered something, I think it was Tara who caught, that. And, well, I'm not going to lie, that probably is not good for Natalie either. But the dagger was not officially used. So Rob is saving this dagger. I think he's going to save it for the very end. I also don't know if Natalie feels good about the fact that Rob didn't stick up for her because remember, she's a part of that dagger friend group. Ooh, that could be interesting. So they get to the voting and it's tight, y'all. It's between Johnny, it's between Steven, and there's one vote for Tara. But man, or two technically by the end of it. But man, it's so close here. But eventually, the 8th contestant banished is... It's Steven. Oh man, I had you guys on the edge of your seats there, didn't I? Steven is gone, and I think this was kind of orchestrated well by the Traitors because they were thinking, okay, well, if we can't get Johnny or Tara out now, let's let the Faithfuls vote out one of their own with Steven. They're playing this okay, I'm not gonna lie. However, I think the Traitors are ultimately setting up Johnny for murder, and Steven goes up and says, "I'm a faithful, you blew it." It was such a great sign-off. So we leave the round table and Kristen asks Eric in the kitchen, "Yo, why didn't you have much to say at the round table?" Ruh-roh, that ain't good. Eric is flustered. That man is shaking again in his little space boots. But here's the thing. You cannot be like this if you're a traitor. Rob is cool, calm, collected, hanging over the couch, posing for all his thirsty fans. But here's the thing. Eric, I think, is going to eventually be snuffed out by the group. But Rob is going to be in the clear again because you know what he's going to do. He's going to throw Eric under the bus like he knows how to do that best. He did it with Lisa and did it with Candace, and I think he'll do it with Eric. And before the episode ends, Alan Cumming comes back and tells us our shortlisted contestants will be woken up from their slumber. Really, tell me more, Alan. And they will be placed in the dungeon, he says. They'll turn a jack in the box, and if it pops, they've been murdered by the Traitors. Yeah, I'm very curious about this, y'all. The only thing that was distracting in this segment was the overlay effects on the screen to make it look very dark and foggy was awful. Never do that again, please. Producers, if you're listening, never do that again. But they end on a cliffhanger. All the contestants that are shortlisted for murder look surprised, but we don't know who's murdered. And we will find out, though, next Thursday for episode 10. So there you have it, you guys. That's my real recap and review of episode 9 for The Traitors season 4. And yeah, it's pretty insane that Steven is gone, but he really was becoming more of like a diversion next to Tara, of course. So Steven is out, Dorinda's out, and it's getting down to the nitty gritty. So if you don't want to miss out on the rest of this season with your boy, hit the big red button below. Subscribe to the channel, and if you don't, I'm voting you out. No, I'm kidding. Like this video, tap on those bell notifications, and get loud in the comments. I need to know something. Do you think Johnny survives next week or not? Because it's going to be something. I've got no idea what's going to come next, but I'm so excited to find out with each and every one of you. Alrighty, y'all. Well, I'm going to go get prepped for Love is Blind week 2 next week. I can't wait. And we got more movies to talk about, I'm sure. So until next time, thanks so much for watching. God bless you guys. And I'll catch you at the next screening. Ooh, man. Yeah. Dude, all I know is that, like, if Alan Cumming could narrate almost every reality show, we would be in a great place. Like, take over for the Lachey's with Love is Blind.